it doesn't record it, then what happens? No, we don't have one.
Okay, so welcome to Sunday Night Live. We're back home, which makes having Sunday Night Live a lot easier. And today we are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. So very, very cool. We're on a lot of platforms, a lot of ways you can watch us. You know, the first thing that we'll talk about is for everybody, for those of us that are watching the show for the first time, she's Cheryl.
And he's Ken.
And we try to do this every night. Or every Sunday night, I should say. Not every night. It'd be way too much work. But we'll talk a lot about our travels, the things we do and say. Couple things. Let us know where you're watching from. So put it in the comments, please, where you're watching the show from tonight. And then also put any of the questions you might have in the chat. I know for sure we can get the chat from from LinkedIn, from Facebook, and from YouTube. We'll have to see what happens with Twitter and Instagram. But what I will say is, in the event that we don't get your questions answered on the show, we'll find you and answer them later. We like to share everything that we can. So we have Rhonda is with us from Idaho. Hi, Rhonda. How are you tonight? And we have Leslie from Allentown. Nice to have you with us. I'll see where everybody else is from. Cheryl and I are home. We're in Central Florida, south of Orlando, and we're in our home office. Most of you that have seen this office a lot. We're going to try to dress up the wall behind us at some point in time. Cheryl's looking for a picture she likes. I made some suggestions. She didn't like my suggestion, so she'll do a better job than I would.
That's something nice and bright.
But this week we just got back in. We got home today. We got off the ship yesterday morning at 8 a.m. and we got home today at 11 o'clock. So we had a nap this afternoon, which felt really good because neither of us slept on the plane or in the airports at all. But we are back home. We're going to be home for a while, which is for us right now is a really good thing. But we just came back. You have to excuse me. I have bronchitis, so hopefully I can get through this. But we just came back from 19 days at sea. And for us, that was far and away the longest cruise we've ever been on for the number of sea days. We've been on cruises as much as 14 days. Go ahead and click it.
No, you're watching what I'm doing instead of talking. Anyway, you need to stop talking because you're bronchitis. So we had a wonderful time on Holland America line. And we have another Rhonda says, welcome home. Thanks, Rhonda. Good to be home. And this was the first time we've ever been on an 18-day cruise. The longest before, I think, may have been 11.
The back-to-back time.
Oh, we did 2 back-to-backs on Cunard for 14 days. But that one didn't really have very many sea days. So this was our first time to test out going across the Pacific Ocean. We went from San Diego on the Koenigsdam. We went San Diego to Hawaii to Ensenada, Mexico, back to San Diego. But what was great was we were testing out how do we do out on the really open sea because, Alaska has the inside passage pretty close to shore. We've been through the Caribbean, but that's still not quite the same as the Pacific. It was really interesting going out there about, I think, almost 3,000 miles across. It was amazing. And we found that we really, really like sea days on the big sea because especially where our room was. Our room was down low in the middle. We did have a window, but that part of the ship is the most stable ship. And some people thought it was a little rocky some days. I think we had like 16-foot swells, but where we were, it didn't really bother us. And even up on the crow's nest on the 12th floor, I was able to go up there when it was really rough and do puzzles and things. And it was fine for us. So that was great. We found that sea days are extremely relaxing. No rush about trying to figure out, your shore excursions and where you're supposed to meet and what you're supposed to be doing, and just enjoy the ship, enjoy the people on the ship. I found that the clientele on the ship of Holland America were, a lot of them were our age, of course, because the school was in, so there weren't families so much on the ship. But everybody
There are
had
a few young kids, though.
a few. But anyway, we traveled. Everyone had actually traveled quite a bit for the most part, and was pretty relaxed about everything. And it was just very enjoyable meeting all these people. A lot of them, of course, being a San Diego cruise. A lot of them were from San Diego, California, Oregon, Washington, because it's convenient for them. Some were like us, all the way from Florida and other places. A couple from England we met. But I just really enjoyed the entire time. We found we really like sea days and we really like long cruises.
Yeah, and I would say for me, it worked out really well because I had days I could work on things, because normally on a cruise, I don't have much time. By the time we've done a shore excursion and some filming and stuff, when we get back and eat, a little entertainment, back to the room, I'm toast. I can't work. So on this one, Cheryl did puzzles during the daytime, and most of the days I sat in the room and worked. But again, it's a testimony to how well this ship handled the rough water. Because while I didn't have much internet, most of the, at least going over, we didn't have very much internet at all. I was able to sit in and look at the computer screen all day and not ever get really queasy or have any problems. Normally, if it's really rough, then the fix for getting seasick is start looking at the horizon so that your ears and your eyes agree on what's going on, and then that will help quite a bit. But it was a lot of fun. There were some things that we'll talk about, a bunch of different things about the ship, and we learned some things during the cruise too. So, what do you think of the food, Cheryl?
Well, the food was great. We only ate in we had one specialty restaurant, which was Tamarind, which was like Thai Asian, and it was excellent. I didn't feel a need for specialty restaurant. The dining room does. They always have their classics, salmon, different things, and steaks, whatever. And they also have things you can order special. Lobster was a special order on this ship, but that did change. The menu wasn't exactly the same every day. So even on 18 days, I always found something in the dining room I really liked. I felt it was prepared well. It was very nice. It was good, nice portions for our age. Of course, if you wanted more, they would have brought it. It was, I really enjoyed it a lot. I didn't feel a need to go to specialty dining. We did eat, they did change the times of the meals on certain days, for example, for breakfast and lunch. So some days they had breakfast and lunch at separate times in the dining room. But then a couple of days they did a brunch. They did like a Hawaiian brunch theme one day, and that ran from, I think, 9 to 12 or 9 to 1, I think. So some days, if you wanted breakfast and lunch separate, you could go to the brunch at 9 and then eat lunch in the Lido, or you could go to Lido for breakfast, Lido being the buffet, and then have, anyway, either way, you could work it that way if you wanted 2 meals. But I really liked the food. There was a gelato place where you could buy gelato, and we tried that. That was excellent. I love gelato. But they did have ice cream the rest of the times up in the Lido, so you didn't have to buy.
We had an ice cream social.
Oh yeah, they had an ice cream social where they took the gelato out of the gelato area and put in like maybe 16 or 18, a lot of different kinds of ice cream. Yeah, 2 cases of different flavored ice creams and all kinds, like 15 kinds of toppings, little fudge pieces and chocolate chips and white chocolate chips and
M&Ms.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff, and some syrups you could try, and
caramel, and
and that was fun. And they had like lots of servers, so everybody that wanted some was able to get some in the.
And there was a line. I'm here to tell you.
Get early.
There was literally a long line.
Everybody enjoyed it because the Lido mostly had chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. So this was a chance to try a lot of different flavors. So Rhonda says, Rhonda from Lakeside. Hi, Rhonda. And it was so nice to meet you. Yes, Rhonda was on the ship with us, and I think she had a really good time too.
Yeah, she ate with us a couple times. Rhonda was there with her brother. We had a great time visiting with them. Her brother's a very interesting person. We enjoyed our conversations with him quite a bit. And when we're out cruising, it's always nice when we get to meet some of the people that we see here on the show on a regular basis. We met Pam in person now, Rhonda in person. Hopefully we'll meet a lot of others in person as we go around.
And I knew there was a man that walked up to Ken and had been watching our shows, and he introduced Ken to some others, and that's happened to me on some of the cruise ships. So we're enjoying meeting you guys. We hope to hear more from you. Hope more of you join us on our live show. And Ken did not take care of his bronchitis. He's a bad boy, but he's trying to now. On the ship, they tested him for COVID and all that, and said yes, it was just bronchitis, which is what we were sure of.
Yeah, I get normal bronchitis is the one thing I get sick with, and actually I don't get really sick. I just have this really, really annoying cough.
Yeah.
But one of the things, and I'm going to go back to dining for just a minute. It's kind of not food piece of it, but when we went to the dining room, and we went to it a variety of times, we didn't have any assigned seating. We just walked in and we told them we were always willing to sit with people. And so we met so many nice people on the ship. We had some amazing conversations. We had conversations with people in the Lido sometimes. I was thinking about the last day there. I was up there and visited with that couple, and that they had some physical challenges. She dealt with some health issues. We talked about, what we do and why we do it.
And I met some people who've traveled a lot, and they had some tips for me and things like, you want the lay down seats going to Europe. They said that TAP, which is Portugal Airlines, sometimes has really good rates for that. So that's something we're going to watch because I really need that.
I will say this too. I'm just talking about Holland America in general.
Thank you, Rhonda. He's going to try to get better. If he doesn't, I'll make him go to the doctor again.
I'm probably going to go to the doctor this week anyway. But so we met a lot of nice people. That was one of the things, again, having the time on the ship, that you weren't rushed. It was nice to be able to sit and visit with people. The shows and that's okay. We'll talk about now.
Another thing, when he said that we asked for sharing, either when you go up to the dining room, you tell them either you want sharing or you don't. If you want to eat alone, that's fine. They do have tables for two. Many times I eat breakfast alone, but when you ask for sharing, it's a lot of fun. I would recommend it.
Yeah, and it was interesting. Cheryl and I went our own way a lot more on this trip than we usually do. So Cheryl will go to the dining room for breakfast. Trying to keep my system happy. I would go up and have some raisin bran, and they had bran muffins, and I'd take coffee and bran muffins down to the room to eat while I worked. So it was pretty funny. One thing that I noticed on the ship, and again, it would be typical for ships with that many people that are not young people. About 3 days before the end of the cruise, they were out of prunes. They had dried apricot. They had stewed apricots, but no more stewed prunes. Early in the cruise, they had lots of stewed prunes, but by the end of the
well, yes, we were all older. But the thing was, they mentioned they had a show, or they had an entertainment venue. They talked about the ship, behind the scenes on the ship. They bring in 90 pallets of food for a 7 to 10 day cruise, and they usually only have 2 pallets left at the end. So they do make really good use of the food. They don't waste anything. And this was an 18-day cruise, so I have no idea how many pallets, or if they refilled them in Hawaii. I don't know, but it's amazing how good the food is considering the volume. It was good anyway, but just and the volume they make of it is amazing, and how they get it to where they pretty much lasts the whole trip.
Okay, and Leslie, is formal attire required for dinner? They have 3 dress-up nights, but nobody's going to throw you out. You can't go to the dining room in shorts and a t-shirt. They
didn't do anything if the men had jeans, as long as they had some kind of pants and a top, and they didn't care really even about t-shirts so much. Most people did on the dress nights at least wear a polo shirt, or not had dress shirts without a tie, and some were extremely dressy. Some people dressed up so they could do their gala night photos. They do have options for that all over the ship. There's some places where they have like the stairs where you can stand on the stairs and get a photo, and then the piano. They have all the typical places where you could dress up and have a beautiful memory and a photo. But no, it's not really required, as long as like Ken says, not too casual. And some people, I did meet a man that complained about that. He really liked the dressy nights. He wears a tux and all that, and he wishes other people would get dressed up, and he was unhappy about it. And I said, well, you have to understand, he's not from America. I told him, well, in America, sometimes people go shopping in their pajamas. So I didn't see anybody in their pajamas in the dining room. So this was an improvement.
Yeah. And thanks for the comment there, Rhonda, too, as well. And again, we appreciate everybody's participation, the comments, the questions. Thanks for asking, Leslie. It makes the show more interesting for everybody. But I would say this: there were items that we saw several times on the menu over the course of 18 days. It wasn't that the menu was the same, and even I think I'd have to go back and look through them. I have copies of all the menus. All that stuff will be posted up in the blogs and in videos. We have pictures of food, all of those kinds of things. But what I would say about it is that when they had the same item they'd had before, it usually was mixed with items that were different than the menu it was on the first time. Is what I think I saw. Is in other words, they had salmon with capers several times, and that was one of Cheryl's go-to. But they had salmon a lot of other ways as well. They had prime rib a couple of times, and prime rib was excellent. They had filet with shrimp one night, which was really, really good. Good shrimp cocktail. Yeah, I mean, so
similar ingredients, but different tastes, different flavors for it. And yeah, so I said I didn't really get tired of the menu. The lunch menu was the same. The lunch menu was the same every day in the dining room, except when they had like their brunches, which was totally different. And again, it's quite a variety on there. They have small plates, large plates. So you can either use a small plate as an appetizer for a large plate or just get a couple small plates, which I did one time. And so I was surprised that I could go 18 days and really still enjoy the dining room all that time.
Yeah. And I typically didn't eat lunch. Like I said, I had breakfast and then I went down and I'd stay in the room and work. I'd come get coffee or tea in the afternoon. But I was trying not to put on too many pounds because it's really hard when you're eating meals with desserts as pretty much every night. And
yeah.
But I would say this: I was pretty happy. I looked at the weight this evening, and maybe 4 or 5 pounds is all the damage I did in 18 days on board. So for me, that's really good.
Oh, Aunt Rhonda has a point in here about that she did see one time inappropriate attire in the main dining room, a bathing suit with a short cover up and t-shirts and clean jeans. So, but I actually didn't notice it, and I'm sure. But it's a big dining room, and people go in and out for 4 hours. So for the most part, people were dressed, like not super dressy, but just at least appropriately.
Yeah.
And, I had one more thing about the food. Lunch. Lunch has a fantastic chocolate tart. I highly recommend it. I ate a lot of them.
Yeah, we're both of us are glad to be back home where we can get on a more normal diet and less sweets, less desserts, those kinds of things. I would say that in general, the fruit was pretty good on board.
Yeah.
They had apples and bananas. They had pineapple. For this time of year, I thought the melon was pretty good. It was. It was not as good as it would be a little later in the year when you can pick stuff a little riper. Of course, they have a challenge: 18 days on the ship. They can't get it as ripe as you would like to get it in the store. So, but I thought that even the melon was good. The pineapple was good. I don't know if we got pineapple in Hawaii or not. I wish they'd have bought all of Hawaii's pineapple and brought it back. But then probably a lot of us would have had sore mouths because too much really good pineapple will do that to you. We speak from experience.
They had berries. And when I did eat at the Lido for breakfast, they had muesli and fresh berries, and they were all very good. And lots of dried fruit like apricots, which are one of my favorites. And figs. The cheese plate in the dining room for dessert. At dinner, you don't have to have sweets. They have a cheese plate with like a fig, dates. I just loved it because I love figs and dates and cheese. And I was happy. Okay, now on to entertainment.
Yeah, I thought the entertainment was really interesting. Let's talk about the main theater first of all, because we had a couple of comedians to start with. They were supposed to have a dance routine on the second night, and they had to redo that because when you get up in the very front of the ship and you're dealing with seas as big as we were dealing with, it's not safe for dancers because things move, and if the ship's moving the wrong direction when they land, they can get hurt one way or the other. So we had 2 comedians. The first guy was hysterical. Second guy was pretty funny too, but yes. I really liked the first guy.
Yeah, and they were clean. I'll have to say these were 2 of the cleanest comedians, because even like some comedians are forced to give you a clean show and you can tell, but these guys are they just have nice clean family comedy anyway, even though there weren't that many families. I really enjoyed it all.
Yeah, I thought the comedy was really good. They had some good music acts. They had a boy band kind of thing, which is not necessarily my music. I thought they were pretty good. They had a songwriter Christy Mana, and she was doing a bunch of Carole King covers. I thought she did really good.
Okay, and breathe for a minute. I really love Carole King. She was one of my favorite singers years ago, and this woman did a great job with it. Her husband travels with her, and he plays the guitar with her, and she does the piano and sings, and it was really, really good. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Was she there 2 nights? Can't remember. And they also interviewed her one day, which I didn't go to the interview, but yeah, I like that one a lot. We didn't go to the dance. They did have the dance later on, the dance show, and they had it 2 nights. I think we were packing, whatever. We didn't go to that, but we did enjoy everything we did see in the entertainment.
Yeah. Oh, there was a Beatle. There was that couple that did a like an '80s tribute. Remember?
Oh yes, yeah.
And they were really good.
That was excellent. Yeah, all the entertainment I thought was quite excellent, and for the main, we were talking about the main theater. And the main theater has accessible seats at the bottom. I will say this: get there early, because to access them, the accessible seats, there's I think maybe 8, can't remember, but they're very close to the stage, and you can get there from the sides of this, kind of going down along the sides, or you can go across in the middle. Going across the middle after everyone's sitting there on that aisle is a little bit more difficult. So for all the entertainment, if I really wanted to see something in the main theater, I would get there about 30 minutes early, pick my seat, have my pick, and then just plan to stay there for the whole show. And that worked out very well.
Yeah, I was saying, and they have more good seats for people with mobility challenges than any ship I've been on, I think. I mean, because they had the whole front row was basically set up for accessible seating, and then the next row behind it, there were on both ends, there were places that you could get in real easily with a walker or something. I thought they did a really good job with accessibility all over the ship. The one thing I didn't ever see, and I meant to go look for it and didn't, was if they had a lift for the hot tub. They have a lift for the pool in the atrium so it's undercover when the weather's bad, which was really nice.
I did see some circles by one of the hot tubs, which I've seen before in other ships where they put a lift, but I don't know that that's what those circles were for. I forgot to ask.
Yeah, but I thought accessibility was really good on board. Like I said, the shows. Go back to entertainment for a minute. There were 2 other venues that were just they were hopping all night every night. One of them was the Rolling Stones Rock Room. They had a band that played a really, really good rock and roll music. They played different generations at different times, but they were really good. There is an 80s set that's on YouTube that I put up that has all of an entire set plus a tour of the room. There's also going to be a video and just parts of some music from the B.B. King room, which was played blues. And the B.B. King room, anytime the band was playing, there were people dancing. And a lot of people dancing. The dance floor would be full.
And above the B.B. King room, there was an open area, and there were seats up above that didn't necessarily, anyway, you could see down in and you could hear the music. So if it's crowded in B.B. King's, you could go up to the top, but there's no dance floor there. And then there's also another venue, what was the one across from the Rock Club? I can't remember the name.
Oh, Billboard.
Yeah, Billboard.
Billboard on board.
Yeah, and there they had dueling pianos. And this was a young couple, and they did a lot of different sets. I actually didn't stay really long for any of it, but every time I walked by, everybody was really having a good time in there. And so I'll say that they weren't my favorite dueling pianos I've ever seen, but they were very good. It was very entertaining. People really enjoyed it. And I've gotten to the point now in my hearing, I'm not used to a lot of loud sounds, so I didn't really stay in for the shows, but I did see that everybody else was really enjoying them.
Yeah, and one night in the B.B. King's, they had in the daily thing, it said there was going to be a chocolate surprise. And what they had in B.B. King's was they had white chocolate covered raisins, black chocolate or dark chocolate covered raisins. They had a little cupcake and a little like chocolate coated Rice Krispie thing.
And they just came around with waiters and handed them out. And on those 3 venues, I would like to say they're not closed room venues. They're open. So if it's really crowded, like the Rock Room and the Billboard Onboard are right across from each other, across from the aisle. So you could still hear everything from either side. So there's actually quite a bit more seating than you think. And BB King's is a little bit farther down behind some doors, but it's not closed in. And so, but it has the second level. So I thought that they did a good job with making a lot of room for people, but they couldn't have 2 of them going at the same time because they're in close vicinity on the same floor.
Yeah, they might have the Rock Room and BB King's running because there were some doors they could close in between them. But the Billboard and the rock and roll venue, they just alternated. So something else that I loved on board, I've been posting some of them up. I got quite a few more that will come up. And that is the enrichment lectures. I thought they did such an amazing job of providing information that was enjoyable to listen to, that was educational, and it was relevant to, obviously to Hawaii and what we're going to go see.
Yeah, it was very good. Well, yeah, they had the one enrichment program they told you about back behind the scenes on the ship. And let's see, Rhonda says, I found BB King's too loud. And I'm happy I'm not that old. And so then the other things they did in there, they had videos about, and a woman that explained like the geology and geography of Hawaii, how they formed, and it was just amazing. Oh, that was the guy. Okay, and then I can't remember all the things. Anyway, they had one almost every day. Occasionally they would repeat them. And then they realized so many people were trying to get in there. They had Billboard Inboard had a very large screen, and you could go sit in there and watch the presentation as well. You didn't really miss anything because it was mostly video and, and someone talking about it. So that made it available for more people.
Yeah, Kristen, the cruise director, was really good. And she was a cruise and port director. One thing that was really nice is she wasn't just jamming shore excursions from the cruise line down your throat, which was nice. But the first one I saw was she did a one with talking about the whales. Yeah. And it was really funny because her timing was impeccable. She did have a teleprompter up there, but you never really saw her look at it. But she went through the life cycle of the whale and so much interesting information about it. I just thought it was an amazing thing. And then there was a guy that had taught at the Naval Academy, and he commanded I think it was a frigate or some other kind of like destroyer type vessel in the Navy. He was a 3rd generation Navy. He was Academy graduate. He taught at the Academy, but he went through ships and shipwrecks and ship language. So, for example, you never tie up a ship. You can tie up your shoes, you can tie up traffic, but you never tie up a ship. Ships get moored. And when a ship is docked, it is not at a dock in the harbor. It's in dry dock. And he just went through a lot of things like that. Talked about the different types of ships. The thing she did too was she also did the history of Holland America.
Oh yes, Origins. The show Origins is excellent, and they replayed it once or twice because it was really popular and quite a few people had missed it. And it talks about the 150 years of Holland America. It was just amazing, their history, what they did in the war. They lost 10 of their ships, I believe it was, either 8 or 10, I think, during the war, and then they had photos of how they would pack the military in to move them around in there. On a ship that usually has 3,000 guests, they would have, I think, 9,000 military personnel.
Like 300 in the swimming pool.
Yeah, they just had like every 18 inches they had a cot, and they just like get in them one above the other through all the rooms and everything. It was amazing, and they were the only ship during World War II they're aware of that actually fed the soldiers 3 times a day. So they have a good kitchen. Like we said, they get the food out there. They really do.
Well, and talking about feeding 3 times a day, that actually started, the 3 meals a day, started back during the immigration from Europe to the U.S. And where people talk about steerage, I make jokes about traveling in steerage sometimes. But steerage actually was an area between decks. It wasn't a full deck. And most of the time, those people were kind of on their own for finding food. And a lot of them starved to death and got to, when they got off the ship, they were very sick. A lot of them were, basically got off and were dying, And that was one of the things that Holland America decided was they were going to do the same thing, and they charged a little more, but they gave them 3 meals a day, and they had to get cleared by a doctor before they could get on the ship.
Yeah, they would make sure they were healthy and they'd help them get healthy before they got on the ship. They fed them properly. And then one reason it actually helped Holland America, besides helping the people, it also helped Holland America because if they did not, if someone was too sick to get off the ship, I mean, like they people when they came into New York were inspected. And if they said, we don't want them, they're not healthy enough, then the ship had to return them back, which they probably didn't make it back. And so Holland America, this helped them, but also helped the people coming. So they really showed a great kindness for people. And I like that. And the steerage was actually only a section that was 5 foot high. So the people, they literally crawled in there and waited it out to get across the sea for 10 days. And they had to try to take all the food they needed. So that was really something that they did away with that. And it was remarkable.
Yeah, it was real interesting. Rhonda said that the FE does a good job with the enrichment as well. They teaching about colored diamonds. And I know she was looking at colored diamonds. I don't know if she bought one of those chocolate ones or not, but I know she was thinking about it.
Yeah, they have a lot of enrichment programs. And then Ronnie Jacobs says she loved Carole King. I'm glad to because I loved her too. And then Rhonda's telling us no, they did not have a hot tub lift. So that's something we can all ask them to work on for that.
Yeah.
And she said that she did check on that. Okay. And I think we're back to where we were.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything else on enrichment? We love the enrichment programs.
Yeah,
Don't miss them.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch on Hawaii about the culture, about the geography and the geology, how it became a kingdom, how it went from being a kingdom to a state.
It was very interesting what's going on there now. They talked about how there's a movement in Hawaii, especially among young people, to separate from the states, but the older ones who know the benefit of being under a larger country, all the things that we offer are like they would like to become like an independent nation within a nation.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. I'd never heard any of that, and so now I can watch for that in the news.
Yeah, I would say, and for those of you that didn't attend, did you know the Hawaiian Islands are moving?
So that was interesting. Yes, Kauai was like. Actually they started way before that. There's a lot of islands northwest of Hawaii that are a part of Hawaii, but they're in a natural preserve. Nobody can go in there. And so they're all moving that way. They're all moving northwest. So Kauai is the most northwest of the islands that you can go to. And so there's a new island coming up. Of course, it takes a million years to come up. But anyway, it's just interesting to find out how they were made, how they were formed, and why they had a great thing about volcanoes, how when volcanoes in other parts of the world explode, or however you call it, people run from those. Those can kill you. Whereas on Hawaii, it's a nice slow lava thing because they started down under the water so far down, and they've gradually been, forming. So now when Hawaii has lava flow, everybody can flock to it and try to see it. So I thought that was interesting.
Okay, but here's another interesting thing. At one point in time, where Oahu is, that was part of a caldera, a crater for a volcano. But now it's a semicircular harbor. And that's because the other half of it fell off. And they say that it created a tidal wave 2,000 feet high.
And that is how they know this is because they find Pacific shells, was it 40 miles inland in the United States?
And up the Columbia River.
So that's how they know that the water went up that far. I thought that was amazing. That was, of course, when the Earth was being formed and everything. But it's really amazing. As you can learn a lot, and I would highly recommend going to the enrichment program.
Well, and one more thing, and then I'll stop on enrichment. At some point in time, the Big Island is going to lose a big chunk of it. The crack has already started up at the top and one side of it. And I think it's the side where all the lava is flowing down, because what happens is it comes up as a cone, but as that lava hits the water, where it runs down to the water, it cools, and it just starts to build a ledge that goes out farther and farther, because the hot lava is not going to go very far down before the water cools it. So it doesn't go down and reinforce itself. So you wind up with kind of like a thunderstorm cloud, where at the top it's offset. And like I said, the crack's already starting to form. Now, he said it wasn't going to happen this year or next year, but at some point in time, there's a good chance that a big chunk of Hawaii the big island of Hawaii is going to fall off into the ocean,
That's
and
what
it's going to make a
happened.
mess.
That's what happened at Oahu. So it's the same thing happening again. It was very interesting.
Yeah. Okay, what's next?
Okay, so now we have let's see, we have one comment here. Oh yeah, it's you have to feel it. You have to feel. Yeah, some days I was just too tired to learn anymore. But I thought, well, Ken's videoing some. We took turns videoing, so I think we can watch all of them. Let's see what you say. Oh yes, there was an earthquake one day, and there was an earthquake on the cruise ship, and she said it feels just a little less intense. Yeah, we didn't notice it. I guess we were busy doing something.
Yeah, we weren't paying attention, obviously.
But there was an earthquake in Hawaii, and it was felt on the ship.
And on the island, and it was a fair one, 5 something.
Yeah, I think 5.7. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Now Hawaii, we went there without pre-planned excursions, so we had to. This was like on the fly thing, even though we had planned this for a long time. We've just been really busy. So when we got to Kauai, the weather was bad, and it wasn't really bad, but they said that the entrance into the harbor is a S-shaped entrance. And I think we had like 14-foot seas or something. And
yeah,
and
waves were coming over the breakwater, and they had like a 35-knot wind.
And so they said that the ship, like a tiny boat, could get out there. Like the pilot came out to guide us in, but he said he really didn't want to take the ship in. And so they decided we couldn't go into Kauai. So instead of that, we went down the Nepali coast. And that was very interesting. It was disappointing for a lot of people. Fortunately, I'd been quiet about 40 years ago. I was there for a week with my son. And so I wasn't too disappointed, but a lot of people were very disappointed. So I guess that's the one thing that a cruise has, that a round trip cruise to Hawaii, you don't have a book. You can't stay before or after in Hawaii and do the other islands or anything you missed. But for me, not flying over there was definitely worth it. Oh, and what's funny is I met so many people that had done this cruise before. I mean, a lot of people were new, first time they'd done that cruise, but a lot of people from San Diego have done this round trip cruise multiple times because there's so much to see in Hawaii. And I'm thinking, there's so many places in the world to see. Why would you do this? And then after about 10 days on the cruise, I'm like, I could do this again. So I lived in San Diego. I could do this again for sure. It was really wonderful.
and the possibility exists that we may not only do that, because the people that were the ship that when it got back to San Diego was turn around and go back to Hawaii, but from Hawaii it was going on to Tahiti and then back to the States. And so there is a possibility. There is a possibility that we might be on the ship next year or the year after doing the round trip Tahiti one, because Cheryl and I would love to go to that part of the world. And again, it doesn't work for Cheryl to fly that far.
Yeah. So, but the Nepali coast was very interesting when we cruised by it. There were a few whales went by, not a lot, because I think they're a little farther out away from land. And there were some dolphins seen, but it is a beautiful coast, and the weather was the sky was clear, so we got to see quite a bit. And they had like an enrichment program over the microphones out on the decks. So as we got close to some of the really interesting sites, like some of the caves and things, they told us that how people like to go in the caves and what's in there. And so it was very interesting. Again, they made it as good as they could without actually getting to the island.
Well, and one of the things that's actually kind of a treat, because normally the only way you can cruise the Nepali coast is either on NCL runs the cruises that coast during their week in Hawaii package. And then also you can do it out of Kauai on a boat, but you have to get on a boat, and it's mostly like a full day thing to go around the island and cruise up there. There are some other excursions where they'll take you, and you technically can camp in there if you've got the time, but it's only like for 2 days. So anyway, it was a real treat to see the Nepali coast, which is not something that everybody gets to see.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a short Nepali coast excursion, kind of.
Yeah, and a little farther offshore, but we still, I have a video. In fact, I should have that video up this week. Yeah. I just got it back from my editor.
The last time I was in Kauai, I did not go to the Nepali coast. I just rented a car, and my son and I went around and saw the lighthouse and and some of the beaches and things like that, but we didn't go to the coast, so that was a treat for me.
Okay, and so on Oahu, we didn't have any excursions done, and I did find there was a hop-on, hop-off bus, and I liked the hop-on, hop-off bus. We did 2 days on the hop-on, hop-off bus, which was how long we were there. One day we did the I guess it's the southeast coast, which was really amazing. There was a blowhole there. I've got some short video up of that,
Beautiful
and
coast.
and I've got to also have a longer form video up on the channel. But it was incredible. The water, the waves. There are some beaches along that stretch. No, one of them is called Breakneck Beach, and our guide, um, he, let's just say that he said that there's a reason for that, and he has scars to prove it. Because it's just, when the waves are up like they were the day we were there, the water is really bad. There can be really bad undertows. He grew up on the island. He was native, and he still got banged up in there a couple of times. He said, that people that are new to the island have no business being there, on a day when there's big waves in.
So there's 4 different hop on, hop off. They're color coded on, and they have a map. So we did the blue, which is the southeast coast. We really like that, and they talk about the different the mountain, like Diamond Head and other things along there. As you go, you learn quite a bit. It was fun, and they have times where they have to be quiet when they're going through residential areas. They cannot use their loudspeaker, so they play some music during that time. And then we did there's a pink bus that goes to all the shopping areas. We use that sometimes to connect to the blue bus. And then there's a red bus, which is the other one we took, which goes to some of the historical sites in downtown, like the Kamehameha statue and the courthouse.
The palace.
The palace, the palace there, and also the tower. It's great, interesting stories about the tower. Oh yeah, Punch Bowl Crater, where they have the war veterans that were brought over from other places. That that was beautiful. They're actually right outside the Punch Bowl Crater, where they put where they buried those who died in World War II in other countries that were Americans. They right outside there is the most photographed spot of Hawaii. It looks down onto onto Honolulu, and it was. I just thought, well, that was very fitting to give them a beautiful place, and it's a beautiful, quiet park there.
So that one was, we really enjoyed it. There's a lot of things in general in Hawaii that are accessible. Some of the palaces and some of the let's say the I don't want to call them ancient, but the really old buildings associated with the Kingdom of Hawaii are not accessible because they were built at a time that they didn't build things accessibly, and there's no way to modify them without having a negative impact on the aesthetics of the building and stuff. So there were some things that weren't accessible, but in general, we found Honolulu to be really accessible. The public transportation was accessible. The bus. We never tried to get an accessible cab, so I don't know about that.
You don't know. The hop on hop off does have one that doesn't. There's 2, I think, that don't have a lift, but the others do, and they come like I think every hour. It's not real frequently, but they do come. So you just plan that if you get there early, then you'll have plenty of time. And the tours last a couple of hours each, so you don't. It takes quite a bit. We did one each day, and we really enjoyed it. And there's also a Walmart not too far from. Well, you take the pink bus and get close to Walmart. And we ran to Walmart for a few necessities, but I found. I have to say this: I'm not fond of big cities. But if you had to live in a big city, Honolulu would be it. It's beautiful. The Hawaiians do a wonderful job of taking care of their environment. And that was some of the things we learned in the enrichment program, how they're different. They have no gambling on the islands, no casinos. But it was funny. One of the guides said, yes, we have no casinos, but a lot of us do go to Vegas. But I think that they really care about the people. They want to do what's right there for people and the environment. It's a part of the Hawaiian culture. And I encourage you to go there and really learn about the culture in some kind of enrichment program, either on a ship or and not just the shows where they do the fire and the food, but just really learn about the people. It was very interesting, something we can all learn from each other.
Yeah. So Maui, we did not have a plan at all for Maui, and after a couple of days in Honolulu, Cheryl's back was not in great shape, and so we took the bus. It was let me phrase it. It wasn't a bad walk, but it was a very unusual walk to get out of the port. You felt like you were going to walk into or out of a maximum security prison because you had this little narrow chain link corridor razor wire up on top, and it kind of wound around to get out.
Couple blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's because see, we were supposed to go over by Lahaina, but that port is not being used right now, evidently for
Because of the fire.
ships. So, so we went to a different port. So, but they did have this way for us to get through without getting, in the danger of all the other things are moving on and off at a port. All that, it's a lot goes on there. So this is a safe way to keep all the tourists in line and out of the way. And we saw a horse there. It was a family had moved 3 horses from the States over to Hawaii, and Ken petted the horse. And that was amazing. I just never thought about having to fly a horse over to the islands, and then they take them to a barge to get to the right island. Poor babies. That's a long trip for a person. For a horse that doesn't know what's going on, it must have been pretty rough.
But once you're out of there, there's a shopping center like right across the street. On the back side of that shopping center is where you can pick up the bus. The bus goes to another bigger shopping center where it's like the bus hub. And so we wanted to go to the other side of the island. There was a place we thought might be within walking distance. It wasn't, but it was okay, where we could see whales. But there was a Ma'alia Bay, I think is what it was called.
Something like that. On the other side.
Yeah, it was just
on the Lahaina side, maybe like an hour south of Lahaina or something.
And that bus actually goes all the way up that coastline to I forget the name of the town where it turns around. But from the bus terminal, you can make a 4-hour tour on the bus if you don't get off and see the whole eastern side of Maui.
Western Lahaina side, right?
No, I think Lahaina's on the east side.
Well, anyway, you can go
west.
all the way.
You're right, west.
Yeah, you can go all the way up and down. But I couldn't take a 4-hour tour. So when it gets to, there's a little place, when it gets to the West Coast, there was a little tiny little town there. They have an aquarium there, which we did not go into it. And they have a restaurant there, some couple restaurants, and some gift shops, and we got ice cream there. And so we visited just a little bit there, and then we took the bus back. But I did want to say that it was really easy to take the public transportation because you get to that main hub, which is really only a few blocks from where you pick it up from the first shopping center. It's just a few blocks to the second shopping center, but there they have people, I guess you could call them attendants or whatever for the bus, and they'll tell you which bus to get on. They have all the buses come there at one time, so you can just transfer immediately. So you're waiting for the first bus, but you're really not going to have to wait for the second bus. If you need accessibility, they get you on first. It was very easy. It was all free right now because I think of the fire. They made public transportation on the island free so people can get about and try to find new places and get everything they need. So for us, it was free. It's not expensive anyway. It's a great way to get about the island.
Yeah, and one of the things I'll say, just to touch on that subject in general, is if you can't find an accessible excursion that works for you on the cruise ship, you want to explore the options, of do it yourself. Because in Canada, all the public transportation is going to be accessible. In the U.S., most of the public transportation is accessible. Even in Alaska, they have accessible buses. So, and in fact, in Talkeetna, they have an accessible cab. But so often you can find the things that you want to do, and find ways to let's say, tailor it to your needs and tailor it to what you want to see, not necessarily what everybody wants to see. Because Cheryl and I are not normally a fan of where you go get on the bus and ride around and you get off for 5 minutes and see this and you get back on and go somewhere else, or else they force march you as fast as you can go from one place to another. That's just not our style. We like being able to poke and prod at our own pace. So Hawaii that's a good way to do it in Hawaii. Now, Kona, I did some bad research because there was a park I wanted to go see that was accessible and had some pretty cool stuff. And something I read said you wanted the 202 bus. So we found out about the 202 bus. We started to get on the 202 bus. Guy said he didn't go there. And we thought he was just being a little bit of a jerk, but in reality, he didn't go to a park at all. He went to a place, it was just as close to walk from where we were to a different park than it was to get on the bus and ride.
So he thought we wanted this small local park. We wanted a big national park, but he didn't understand the phrase national park. And I'm not sure if he even stopped. I think that after the pandemic, they may have stopped some of their stops. So he only went all the way to the airport.
Yeah, well, but it wasn't that bus. I did some further research later in the day and found there were 3 other buses that were, because this guy was just kind of local in the town of Kona. They also have some buses that, are basically go around on the big island, which is where Kona is one side of the big island. It's a tender port. And so if we had planned a little better, I would say that we could have gotten to the park I wanted to. I didn't do the research right. But the town of Kona is pretty cool. We ate lunch we shared nachos and a drink and stuff by the waterfront where the ship was just docked right offshore from us.
We have video about that
Yeah.
we made, and it was and there's like a lot of little shops there. The painted, I was really disappointed because the painted church was having some kind of function or being repaired, but it was closed. I so badly wanted to get in there and get a picture, but other than that, we pretty much saw what was on there's also some kind of little palace or something. There was something there.
Oh no, it was the summer palace of one of the queens.
Yeah, and that was it's not accessible.
Yeah,
but we did get to see the outside of it, and it was fun. We enjoyed Kona, the little shops and stuff. You don't have to go anywhere. You can still enjoy the food, the culture. Right there. Oh, we went through the Hilton. Was it Hilton or Marriott?
Marriott.
The Marriott there. It doesn't say Marriott on it anywhere. I forget the name of it, but we did a video. They have quite a few bits of artwork and some historical stuff of the Hawaiian Islands in their lobby that you're free to go through and take pictures of and read about. Yeah. So that was a little bit of culture.
They also have nice accessible bathrooms, easy to reach.
Yes.
So then we went to Hilo. And Hilo, I had to go see the doctor, so all the normal ship's excursions were gone, and we hadn't booked anything, but we went outside the terminal, and there were a bunch of vendors still there, and this was at noon. They couldn't fill a bus like they had wanted to. They had they had some like canned tours, but what we did wind up with is sharing a cab with two other people, and we went out to Hawaii, to Volcanoes National Park, and we got to walk around Kilauea's the crater on Kilauea. And look down over into it to see the caldera. And there is a trail. We didn't get as far as that trail. It goes all the way down into the bottom. That trail is open and closed depending on a lot of different things, I think, associated with the activity there. The volcano is not erupting now, though when it last erupted, it lost 1,400 feet of height because it melted it, turned it into magma, and ran it down the side. But Cheryl's Wheel Model F worked really well there. We went out, and it's a gravel trails, but we went and did a bunch of the trails. And then there's a paved path that takes you back from there back to the visitor center. There's
two paths to the visitor center. If you take when they have the parking right there by the caldera, if you take the gravel road, the gravel path up like maybe a couple hundred feet to see down in the crater. If you go to the left, you're going to end up in a place that has a lot of steps, and you're going to have to come all the way back. We did not do that, but we were with another party, and they went that way. And so we came back to where the parking lot was, and from there we followed a path through the Sulphur Springs area.
Yeah.
And even with our asthma, it says not to go in there, and we did. But anyway, I didn't really smell a lot of sulfur that day, fortunately. But it is an accessible path. I will say if you're on a push wheelchair, it'd be a lot of work. But you can do it on a scooter. It's just fine. I did reach one point. You want someone with you. I reached one point where there's a little wooden bridge is kind of rickety, but it's fine. It's a little bumpy. But then I reached a point where there's like this little bridge on that wooden path, and there's like a 1-inch lip, and I couldn't get it to go up. The F to go up, but Ken helped me lift it up, and then from there I got all the way back to the visitor center. So that's really quite accessible, and it was different and it was enjoyable. It was a nice way to get some fresh air, whether it's good for you or not, and walk. And the visitor center, we could have spent more time. The visitor center was very crowded. It was hard so you might want to spend more time there than we did. But like I said, we didn't get started till late, and the tour, only gave us so long for our tour.
Yeah, because from there we went to Rainbow Falls, and Rainbow Falls, the bottom of it's very nice, very accessible, very beautiful. It's kind of almost, I don't want to say in downtown, but it's inside the town area of Hilo, but it's not close to the beach or anything. It's not. It wouldn't be like something you could walk to, but it was really nice. Very pretty. We didn't see the rainbow. It just depends on where the sun is during the day when it forms a rainbow, but it's like a double waterfall. And then I was able to climb up above it. There's a path that I wouldn't call it a steps, but there is a path with multiple layers of that you have to climb up to get up above, and it's
There's
very
a railing.
pretty.
We had a railing all the way.
Yeah, it had a railing, but you could not get a wheelchair.
But the wheelchair did have a ramp. They did have a ramp for wheelchairs. And one that looked kind of like, it looks like a ramp for wheelchair, but it's actually for people to walk up that don't want to do steps. And then there's a smaller ramp on the side that goes more gradual and comes up where you can look right over the falls, and especially at the far end of it. And so that was very nice.
So let's talk for just a second about the Cheryl's Wheel CI, the one that we normally take, would have handled that all of that area a little better than the Model F did, because the Model F has wheels on the front that cast her. And so because of that, that's what would cause it when she hit that lip, rather than going up and over, they just turned sideways and it turned into a roadblock. The Wheel CI doesn't do that, but the Wheel Model F was great for tendering. We had no problem.
I might have been able to back up over it. I didn't try that. I'm not used to the Model F, but I'm getting there.
But it was just very interesting that the Model F folded really easy. It actually is easier to deal with for a gate check than the CI is. The CI gate checks, it's not a problem with the CI. It's just the weight makes them handle it differently down below, and so that's why sometimes it winds up in places where it's not really where we wanted it. But
Model F, they handle it just like a baby stroller or something. And they usually bring up the strollers first and then the Model F. But the CI is pretty heavy. It has to be taken to an elevator. Usually they don't always have them for every plane at every door. So sometimes they have to take it around another way and they leave it somewhere and you have to go get it.
Yeah. So like I said, and I would say that if you normally use a fixed wheel scooter and you want to go on a cruise that tenders, scoot around, rents that Model F, and I would highly recommend it, because it worked so well. On the airplane, you just got to pull a battery and put it inside the cabin with you,
And fold it.
and fold it for them. But it folds really easy. It's not automatic folding like some we've seen, but like I said, it worked really, really well.
Yeah, I'm not strong enough to fold it, but most people are.
Yeah. So anyway, that worked really well. Now we're going to talk about our one and only paid excursion.
Okay, so on Ensenada, we thought, we've been to Ensenada before and we walked through the town. We have videos up about that. I'm sure it hasn't changed very much. And the port, they've been working on beautifying the port, and it even looks better than it did last time as you get off and all that. But so we decided we'd do a paid excursion, which we don't do that often. And we asked if it was accessible. Now, accessibility of the ship means that your wheelchair folds. And so since I had the Model F, we're like, okay, let's do this, because we just haven't done anything here. So we did a wonderful wine tasting tour, and I'll say why it was wonderful. They had there was, the first step is always a doozy. Once you get on the first step, then you get up the bus pretty easily. If you have like the Model F, they're going to let you sit in the front seats. They reserve those seats for the handicapped. So I just got in the front seat. That was easy. And they had a woman, they have someone like a tour guide who talks to you all the way as you're going there. It's about a 45-minute drive, and she gives you the history of Ensenada, tells you about some of the important buildings. You see the coast as you go. And then we went up, and then we go up quite a hill, and then we go like into this valley. And that's where we went to LA Chetto Winery, which is a large winery. You can buy their wine at Costco and other large vendors in the United States. They have a classic line. They have a reserve line. They do what they call, it's not a late harvest wine, but it's kind of like it's a sweet wine, and it's supposed to be comparable to an ice wine, which I love ice wine. So we, because I like the sweet wines with desserts. So and with sweet wines, you only get like half an ounce. But anyway, I really wanted to try it, but they let us try 4 kinds of wines, like a sparkling wine,
2 whites, 2 reds.
Oh, 2 whites and 2 reds, and then we had cheese and bread with olive oil. They also make olive oil there. Ensenada's known for its olives. They sell a lot of olives to the United States besides wine, and and that was very enjoyable. It's under a covered place. There were a few benches, and just a little bit farther over, they had some picnic tables if you needed to rest a while. We also toured the facility. We went into 2 buildings, and they explained the different tanks and the size of the tanks and what they use them for. They have some absolutely massive outside tanks that they use for cooking wines. So anything that does not meet their standards goes into the cooking wine. So they have quite and they're not all labeled LA Cheto though. Some of it's just made and then sold under other names. Then they had in their room tasting room. We also went in there to make purchases. They had like the labels that they sell under, and there was quite a few. And they have their olive oil there if you'd like to buy it.
And of all the wine exported out of Mexico, LA Cheto exports half of it.
Oh, yeah, it's a big winery then, and so they don't make tequila there because that state, Mexico, has 32 states. Only 5 are allowed legally to make tequila. So you cannot get tequila made in Ensenada, but I'm sure you can buy tequila in Ensenada, and they probably have some tequila tasting places around there, perhaps.
Yeah.
But and then after the first winery. At the first winery, we just tasted the wine. He talked about the wines, and we took the tour of the buildings and all that. And we saw the big kegs.
And then we bought some wine.
And we bought some wine. And then
2 bottles of the dessert wine.
Yeah. So anyway, then when we get back on the ship, I had forgotten we each get a bus. Back as you're getting back onto the bus after LA Cheto, they give you your free bottle that you get for taking the tour. So I'm like, oh well, our suitcases are going to be like 50 pounds each, which is like the limit.
49.5 and 48.7.
I got it in there. And then we went to another small winery, which is right next to it. Can't remember the name. We went to a small winery right next to LA Cheto. And this was a very interesting winery because they not only make wine, they also make wine with honey. They also have like a place where you can go like for a lunch. They have pizza. I think they have tacos. They make a lot of jams and jellies you can taste the jams, jellies were wonderful, but I knew we had no room left for any more liquid weights in our suitcases, unfortunately, because they had spicy wines like chipotle mango and things like that.
Jellies.
And habanero. Oh, jellies. Yeah. Jellies. Sorry. Yeah. So they had these spicy jellies and
habanero mango
jellies.
is really good.
Yeah. And while we were there, they gave us a taste of some of their pizza. We had like a small meal there, which was nice. And then they
tapas.
Also,
kind of like tapas.
Yes. And then they also sell there, and at LA Cheto, they sell boxes for shipping wines and things. And so I thought, So I bought at LA Cheto, when we bought the tall sweet wine bottles, they don't make boxes long enough for those. So they gave us some. She went back in the back and actually got us bottles that were still in the cardboard from when they boxed them. So we had that helped me. I always wrap my bottles with socks, lots of socks, and that cushions them. Then I put them in the box, and that's how I get them home. And then I bought a box for the 2 smaller bottles that we got free on the bus, and that worked really well. So that was very enjoyable. So she asked, which of the wineries do you like better? And it's like, well, I really liked it. I think I preferred the LA Cheto wines just because I like the sweet wine, but I think that if you just wanted to have an excursion, an outing for lunch, you could have lunch and go to the other winery. They both had accessible restrooms. And the second winery we went to, there's 2 places where the bathroom signs are switched. One tells you to go, the ladies' room is to the left, and the next one, the ladies' room is actually to the right. So we're a little
confusing.
But
split personality.
But they're accessible, and the one at LA Cheto was very clean and accessible. And I think one was they were both a little tight I wasn't used to the Model F, and I actually just left it and then just left it in the restroom and used the facilities separate. But I think that if I was more used to it, like if I had my wheel CI2, I'd just whip right in there and be able to do it. But anyway, but they were accessible. You could get a scooter in there, not a large scooter, I don't think. So yeah, everywhere we went on this trip, we found accessible restrooms. Like when we were in Maui, and we were at the place where you switch buses. They have several elevators to go upstairs. Fortunately, they have like 3. There's one in the main area for all the shoppers. Then there's Kohl's is there. I believe it was Kohl's. I don't know. One of the Macy's was there. They had an elevator they actually used. Later, I found out across the street from the buses. I mean, like right there by the buses on the other side of the buses, there was an elevator that I didn't know worked. And anyway,
had to go upstairs to find the accessible restroom.
But I will say one thing about, was it Maui? Maui. one of the islands, it was like a lot of the restrooms were under construction or being repaired. I don't know what the deal was, but I was still able to find facilities I could use. So that's reassuring.
And I would say that if you have some mobility and can deal with the steps up to a bus, that winery tour was only like, what was it, $59?
Yes, it was it was very nice. 2 wineries, 5 tastings and lunch and a free bottle of wine. And you got a lot of history of the town on the way
We
out.
got 4 wines at the second one too. Remember they got the board?
Well, I mean, we each got a bottle of free
No,
bottle.
but you said tastings.
Oh, taste. No, we had 2 places to taste.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because the second place we also got tastings.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah. So it's nice. It was fun. And then I guess we're over our time, so we better quit. But we had lots of sea days. We loved them all, and we love the ship, and we'd probably do it again. So
Okay, and so I'm not sure what we're going to talk about next week, but we will find things to talk about. Like I said, we just want to update you on all the things that went on this trip. Thanks to everybody for joining us. If you're coming in on the replay, do me a favor again. Still, let us know where you joined us from. It's always such a nice time. And Rhonda, thank you. Appreciate the good words.
thanks everybody.
And like I said, the enrichment videos are coming up. They run anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, so it takes me a while to put them together and get them up. But they will be on the YouTube channel. And in all of the places I posted this, you should be able to find the link to the YouTube channel. It's been nice being with everybody tonight. We'll see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Good night.